Hey, good evening, Galleon. This is Mayor Tom O'Leary back for another Facebook Live session. Glad that you tuned in. We're going to stay on topic or on point. About a month ago, when I spent an opening monologue, in fact, most of the time here, talking about the Freeze Complex, Freeze Athletic Complex, Freeze Center, whatever you want to call it, but make sure that the Freeze is on the front end of that, because it really recognizes the great gift, the endowment that we have to benefit parks and recreations in the community, and what I think is a really outstanding idea that's been bumping along, raising money and refining the idea and really getting to the point where this involvement of the community has been real valuable. Real happy with the takeoff or the startup, if you will, of the Facebook site. Encourage people who watch these broadcasts to spend some time and go look at the Freeze Center Facebook site. A lot of other people have, and really the whole purpose of that is to drive traffic to the site, to improve the better understanding of what's being proposed, some of the cost involved, some of the plans to recover those costs and pay for the facility and make for an operation. And then also, I think, for both planners and for opinion makers, one of the most valuable resources, certainly with social media when done right, are the comment section. So there's been a number of comments and some questions or critical statements about the facility. So certainly those of us who are proponents of it, really learning from both the complimentary statements and quite honestly at this point not soliciting what a social media bombing, a Facebook bombing or mobbing, but been pleased with the unsolicited comments in favor and really understand the few comments that are questioning or what one might describe negative or unfavorable as the facility goes. One of them that in reading them that I wanted to comment on, one of the less favorable comments is a notion of a lack of parking, and I would agree with the person that put a comment up there that there's not sufficient parking out there now, but certainly assure you that there are several hundred parking places in the footprint of the schematic soon to be final construction type plans for the facility. In order to expand the information, we've done a few things, and so I brought some props with me tonight. I wish it's not quite as tall for the people who remember Ronald Reagan when he brought the federal budget in. It was several feet tall, but this is a stack of just some of the information that has been compiled to try to proof the idea, to do, as they say oftentimes in the banking business, the due diligence on whether or not such a facility would work. So the plan is to finish up a website. Facebook really doesn't allow us to load up the Facebook page with really much more than cover pages of the information that we feel very strongly supports the concept of this facility, supports it in terms of its fidelity to the will, and so I really instruct you to that. At this point, there's a couple of things that we have up at that Facebook site. One is the will. You'll find all types of proponents and people not so enthusiastic about this complex. Quote this will. Heck, in some respects it has almost a scriptural, well, it says it right in the will. Well, just everybody read the will, and then we'll have an equal conversation about what the will does and doesn't say. But I can tell you in advance and encourage you to read it, it talks about a recreation center specifically in the language, in fact in the same sentence that it mentions scholarships and maintaining the parks. So a little bit of library work does a lot to get at some of the concerns that have been raised, some of the complaints about the facility, and whether or not this is sound public policy consistent with the will. So that's there. Another real important document that will be up on the Facebook site and certainly soon to be part of a website that I think will embed a lot of this information so it's easier for people who really want to take an informed look at it or a deep dive into it. And you can reference the probate document that was put together that really sets up the Freeze Board of Trustees and the mechanism for selecting projects and dividing up the funds. So that's really just a beginning of what I think is real important to get out into the general information and out in a general discussion within the City of Galion. So take a look at those items now on the Facebook page, and then bug us up here at City Hall. We're going to be working closely with the partnership over the Crawford County Development Partnership to really develop a website that can really graphically do justice to all of the work and all the information that's been put into warranting or proving out why this is a good facility and why it's bankable. And I really expect that to support us going forward in terms of convincing people and pushing the question, if necessary, within city government, particularly within city council, to kind of make some of the necessary decisions that will need to be made in order to move this from, gee, really good idea, I'm all for it, to, gee, really good idea, I'm glad to see it started, to, gee, wow, this is really going to happen. And I'm very much interested in seeing that progression from really good idea with some kinks in the chain to be worked out to, gee, this is actually open. And I have really not a lot of time or patience to be dedicated to coaxing along an idea as good as this, because if this can help the community like I think it can, there's no reason to wait a year or 2 or 3 or any number of years into the future before we start moving out on this. 1 or 2 more items, and then we'll see if there's some questions or we can address some of the comments. Last week was a really great week for this project. And in the subtext of all the discussion about this, there's a lot of identifying the project with individuals who are strong proponents. And so, I consider myself a strong proponent of it. But giving credit where credit's due, you gotta say Gary Frankhouse had a hell of a week last week. He received notification, yet to receive a letter of a significant grant from the Timken Foundation in Canton, like $400,000, y'all. Whoa! No one from Galion's put in $400,000, so Canton likes it. You add that to the $500,000 that came from Columbus and the state capitol bill. Thanks, Representative McLean. Thanks, Gary. So that was several months ago, but that's $500,000 that's been there committed to it. That's Columbus likes the project apparently and believes in it. And then also last week, the Crawford Community Foundation, which I've said on this media exchange or whatever you want to call this, not a podcast, but this conversation, how cool the Crawford Foundation is and how it's really become a county-wide entity and thrown bouquets their way, among other things, for their support of retiring student debt for worthy people who've come back to the community to contribute their skills. Some really cool stuff. Well, anyway, they made a commitment of $500,000, $50,000 over the next 10 years. So, I mean, I guess where I started out is, that ain't bad, y'all. Like $900,000 a week for Gary Frankhouse. So maybe the next time somebody says, well, what the heck does that guy do? Making a bunch of money over there in Bucyrus, not doing anything for Galion? It's like, wow. Maybe he's doing a lot more than some of the naysayers think. So attaboy, Gary. The heck of it is, though, we're just $4 or $5 million away. So we don't want to start celebrating too much, but it's a heck of a week, and you think about the efforts and criticism that people get. That's really in my way of thinking, moving the marker to the fully funded category and $900,000 chunks. That's a pretty good. That's like chopping several cords of wood, if you know what I'm trying to say. So, anyways, enough bouquets to Frankhouse. He'll get a fat head, and then we won't get anything done. So I just wanted to mention that, and and pass along the credit where it's due. So, anyways, with that, I don't know if there are any questions, or I've just alienated everyone. Maybe there's a question or two out there.
Yeah, we've got a couple to kick things off with. First one came from Marie. She asked, is there going to be a spring cleanup this year?
Yeah, I hate the whole thing, but yeah, you're right. Thanks for reminding me. It is such, I say that jokingly, because it is such a heavy lift. And for most people, like, if you think of it from the citizen's point of view, that's like, hey, we got 3 or 4 hours, honey. Let's get all this crap cleaned up, take it up the city, and we're done. We can, move around whatever's the, messiest area around our house. But it's the way it works in the city is it has a way of dragging on. So yeah, we'll be doing something. I'm not sure what the heck it is. But what we've got to do is think through and come up with a practical way to stop the run-on of mattresses. I mean, it was worse than a mushroom patch in the middle of kind of a damp woods. And what I mean by that are all the mattresses that popped up. I've never seen mattresses pop up faster in my life. So that kind of run-on takes a 1 or 2 day or a couple of days to clean up afterwards. And it's really in the last few years dragged that cleanup day or cleanup weekend and turned it into a cleanup month, where we have a lot of our city workers going around and doing a lot of curbside cleanup. So anybody's got some ideas about ways to improve that, make it more efficient. Yeah, we understand there's an accumulation of materials that's hard for people all around the community to dispose of. And so, like I said a minute ago, man, I hate the whole thing, but I'll blame it on the service director. It was her good idea to begin with. But yeah, we'll be doing it, and we'll keep you posted as to when it is. So it's kind of if you didn't get my meaning, it's kind of an internal joke. Like every year we get ready to do this, and I roll my eyes, and then everyone feels good about the the effort that's put in, and you can certainly see the see the results of that. So if we can, this really will work if we can rope in another community partner. In past years, when we've had some of the churches around town really put their volunteer effort behind our effort, you make a tremendous impact. So. Yeah, is that Maria? Is that what you said?
Yep.
Yeah, tell her never to call in again. That was a terrible question. No, it's really a good question, and it'll get us moving on something that I see as something we have to do, but I don't look forward to it, honestly. So you win, Marie. We'll do it.
Marie did have a follow-up question.
Oh, no.
She asked if we're going to go curbside with the pickup.
Well, I sort of answered that. It's like, man, that's absolutely the most labor-intensive and cost-ineffective. So we will do everything we can to limit that. And what we'd like to do is that's how we can bring in volunteer groups, either volunteer churches or other organizations. The kids have got a lot of volunteer hours in the community, kids as in the high school kids. So maybe we can put that together so that if you have a particular location and curbside's the only way you can get it off your property, then maybe the answer is, and an improvement would be to know about that, and we can go out and pick up the stuff. But for sure what we'll do is post some dumpsters and fill them up, and then we'll fill some more up, and then we'll fill some more up. We'll post the number of tons of tires and the number of compactors. I imagine we still have that around here, but it's a pretty significant amount. And heck, last year we got no slack from the landfill operator, so we paid a lot of money for that free curbside pickup, and the citizens paid a lot for the free disposal in dumpsters. Kurtzman's stuff was discounted, and you got to say a shout out to Louie and that group, but no slack at the landfill. So go out there and throw eggs at the landfill,
All right, moving on.
Tomatoes or something.
Next question comes from Sheila. She asked, is there any more hope for a grocery store?
Yeah, every day. I started out this morning because I knew I was doing this tonight, and I called the landlord, and we talked about it, and it's a little bit of a moving target. I think we're getting there. The remember when you were in middle school, and if you had the same girlfriend for 2 weeks, you were going steady. Well, we've been going steady with this latest group for a couple 3 weeks, so I'm starting to think it's serious. So I'm beginning to get optimistic about the most recent suitor, and I think it'll be a nice fit for the city. But we've still got some pieces of the puzzle to put in place. So wouldn't be a Monday night Facebook without a question about the grocery. I keep wondering about when this happens, and I think it's sooner than later that we get a grocery. It won't make everyone happy, but I've been joking around with what will become the new most asked question after we get a grocery store. So wouldn't that be nice around Galion if we answered that, solved that puzzle, and went on to our next challenge? What else we got?
All right, next question comes from Missy, kind of a two-parter here. What about all the dilapidated, rundown homes, and then how can we encourage investments in improving our existing community?
Well, I tell you that those are two, you ought to run for council questions, Missy. Those are really heavy-duty questions, real important questions. I'll take a swing at them. We're in the process of freeing up some money that has been it was $30,000, which seems a lot in the home budget, but not a lot in the city budget, where we have 17 million on reserve. So anyways, we had about 30 grand that we freed up, and the plan there is to demolish a few of the worst structures. Now with these particular funds, we're able to demolish some commercial structures. So there'll be a discussion about whether or not we do all residents or whether we do some commercial demolition with that. A second part of that is that in the same pool of funds that was used to tear down the Neff brothers, it appears like there may be some additional funds available at the county level for additional demo. So we've been identifying those targets, what we consider are the some of the worst and most unsafe residential structures, and we're getting ready to maybe be able to access through the county another $40,000-$50,000. So are we going to get anything more done this year? Yeah, probably in the neighborhood of $80,000. So not a significant amount of money. One of the toughest, the other half of the question, is how do you get investment in the community? And that's a real complicated thing. I mean, one of the things that is being looked at right now is a potential $4.4 million investment in 36 apartment units over by Drug Mart, Arby's, and that vacant property there. And one of the things for that particular project to be able to become a reality is going to require pretty significant tax abatement. And the tax abatement will be used to lower the rents. I don't want to get into too much of the detail of it, but only to try to answer the question by saying that I think in this community, where the wealth of Galion has not been especially aggressive, it's an understatement, they've not been at all aggressive about investing in the next generation of things in Galion. We're going to have to rely on investors who have faith in Galion and who sometimes are going to need tax incentives in order to make their particular project work. And here it has to do with getting the rents down low enough that Galion area people will pay them, but also being able to generate enough money to get an adequate return on that $4.4 million of investment. So it's such a complicated question. That's only one slice of what can be done to get investment in the community. And it's a great question, and I spend a lot of time on it, and people trying to get the community to grow understand that new housing and new investment is the way that we get things moving forward and eliminate that tendency to look in the rear view mirror and compare ourselves with how things used to be. So really great question. I hope I didn't flub it too bad. So you can send in another question, and I'll try to get into a debate with you, if that makes sense. Whoever that was, whatever her name was. Missy.
Yeah, Missy.
The one I said to run for council. I can't even remember her name. What a goof.
Okay. We also had a comment from Tina. She said, "Thank you for working on some of the alleys around town."
Yeah, we just tonight had a little conversation. I had a conversation with the council members, and council had looked at a paving list. It's going to be kind of a narrow paving list, but we'll do what we can on that. And really, what we're trying to do, I hate to ask for the phone to ring, but the squeaky wheel has been getting greased when it comes to alleys. There is not a comprehensive, systematic alley repair renovation program. So we really have been maybe a little over responsive to squeaky wheelism. So if you have one of those alleys, call up here to City Hall, and we'll try to get out there and look at it and see what we can do. But thanks for noticing where we have improved the alleys. It's among a lot of other stuff that the guys do.
Okay. Next, we have a question from Tom. He asks, "Why not waive water and sewer tap fees? You'll make your money back regardless on new construction." Yeah, it's one of the things about an apartment project, and we were discussing that. It's really not the question, but we're going to get 18 new utility customers out of each building, so 36 new utility customers. Heck, if we had 36 single-family homes, people would be ecstatic. So, we have reduced the tap fees. There was a thing around here when I first became mayor called a impact fee on sewer. So we've adjusted those fees down. I sound like I'm selling discount goods or something. They're the lowest tap fees around, and I really mean that. They are very low, and they're designed not to make money, but try to attempt to recover the cost of them. So I think what I'll do is ask Matt to tomorrow morning post those fees and connect it back to that question so you can get an idea what the tap fees are. Well, also to show you where they were 4 years ago, roughly, before Matt Strickler, who former councilman, made a big deal to get those tap fees down to make development in the community a little bit better. Me and Matt he's been in the service all over the world keeping us safe, but the short time he was on council, he made some real big improvements that were real positive in trying to reduce tap fees and the cost of just building a new facility, whether it's a business or a residence here in Galion. So shout out to Strickler. I'm glad he's home. Got a little kid too, so feel sorry for the kid, but what can I say? Okay, looks like that's all the questions we've got for tonight.
Well, I appreciate. I'm obviously in a pretty good mood. We're trying to keep moving forward. There's some headwinds on some of the bigger projects. Really expect and hope that both proponents and detractors, or people who have questions about the Frieze Center, that they use this forum that we have and that we get that out there. And I can't name the dozen or so folks that have put their name of endorsing it, but yeah, I would agree with old friend of mine, Melinda Nichols. I think she wrote exciting. I think it is pretty exciting. Matt, you got another question?
Yep, we got a late one from Josh. He asks, "What is the policy on overgrown trees along the street that need trimmed or taken down?"
All right, well, here's another 15 minutes, folks, so hang in there. No, it is... It needs to be looked at. By and large, there's a lot of mythology out there. Most people think that thing I'll call the devil's strip, but lawyers would say that's not exactly the way to describe it. But that area that we're calling the tree lawn is the city's, and that the city needs to maintain those trees. And we could debate that, but that's not the way the ordinance reads. By and large, the ordinance says a tree in the tree lawn is the property of the owner of the residence. It's not the city's property. And that it's your obligation to maintain that tree. And that we could, although we don't. And heck, they didn't do it. It was passed back when Hunzy was city manager. This wonderful genius plan, that if you didn't take it down, then we would send a contractor out, or we would come out and cut it down and put it on your taxes. Well, to my knowledge, that happened about this many times, but what it did was create this idea that there's a waiting list that you can put your name on. So let's just set all that bunk aside. The tree, the dead tree, or the tree that's going to fall that's on the tree lawn between the sidewalk and the street, typically that's what we're talking about. I hate to tell you, but under the current ordinance, that's your tree. And if you want to change that, I'd suggest that you come to a council meeting or a committee meeting or call up here. I'll try to point you in the right direction as to how you would go about changing that ordinance. But we get a lot of those calls, Josh. There's no question like, hey, come out of here and cut down my tree. The exception to that, and then I'll stop, is that if there is the potential of that tree, if it's near one of our electric lines, or it's going to fall on one of our electric lines, then that would be the exception. Now, as you can imagine, and we hear all kinds of situations. Well, the electric lines cross the street, and if the wind blows a certain direction, it'll fall across the street. Well, we'll look at that on a case-by-case basis. But by and large, the way it is now, we're not enforcing it actively, but it's your tree, and calling us up to tell us to cut down your tree is probably not going to get us to where we want. If you want to change the ordinance, we could start down that road. My guess is, and this would be the last thing I'd say, is there is in excess of $1 million worth of tree removal when you start to count up all of those trees, the ones that you're generally talking about that are out there in that tree lawn or devil strip. So it's a big ticket item, and if the city wanted to address that, take responsibility for that, then it'd be something we'd have to do over a number of years, cost a lot of money, and probably not at the top of my agenda right now. So what a lousy question to answer, to finish up on, Matt. You got anything better?
Yeah, I got two more actually.
Yeah, okay, let's do it. Is there going to be an egg hunt? Yes. But no, go ahead.
Okay.
Real quick.
Next one came from Gina. She asks, the building with the giant hole in the roof next to the AMVETS, can something be done about that eyesore?
Yeah, I had just said something a minute ago, Gina, about the money that we're freeing up, and that the land bank, I didn't talk about that, but the land bank was exclusively for residential. These dollars that we have, much as the old commercial structure at the Neff Brothers, we use the same pool of funds to tear that down. I know exactly what you mean. I don't want to focus in on it and draw attention to it, but it's in really bad shape, and it's one of those structures that somebody could get hurt in. And if you don't know where I'm talking, just get in the passenger seat, have somebody drive you over the overpass, and you can kind of look to the south, and you'll see what Gina's talking about. So that's that one. That's a big dollar one, man. So I'm not sure, even if we marshal some resources, that wouldn't gobble up all the funds. And then, sorry about this, folks, but then some people complain about all the money going to somebody who didn't maintain their property. So it's you do catch yourself in a bit of a catch-22. But you're right, Gina, that building is worrisome from a health and safety point of view.
Okay, a couple more questions here. Next one is from Missy. She asks, what is the status on the biking walking path?
Yeah, I think if you went out there today, you would, and you can do it tomorrow. I think it's going to be nice the next couple of days. They're staking it now, kind of the right-of-way staking. And I'm told, but I won't believe it till I see it, that we're a few weeks away from a set of plans. So we should, I was a little more pessimistic, but we found a way to get to the parking area out at the wastewater treatment plant off Hosford Road and away through the old children's home property. So hang in there. I was talking earlier at a committee meeting that, maybe while the leaves are still on the tree, we would have something that people could begin to use. But I was losing hope that it would get done in 19, but I think with the right-of-way staked and some forward momentum, we'll get her done this year. There's a few $100,000 that is allocated and sitting for it to get engineered and the contract let. So it's it's not a matter of resources, financial resources at this point. It's that we're lacking a plan, and give us a few weeks, we ought to have a plan. I mean, a set of construction plans, not a plan in sort of a joking way. What else?
All right, thanks, Mayor. Next question comes from Gene, South Boston Street, south of the old Wilma Crawl School.
Yeah.
He asks, can it be no street parking because the road is about 3 feet shorter in width?
Yeah, when I knocked doors back in 17, I heard that, and I haven't done a damn thing about it. I'm glad they said something. We'll take a look at it. I mean, I hadn't thought about, you're exactly right, and it is more narrow, and people do want to park on the side, and somebody gets sideswiped, and you got people hurt or more than just property damage. So yeah, I know exactly where they're talking about, and this might even be the same person that I spoke with when I was door to door. So I'll try not to be that politician that sees you in election years and then forgets about you. So we'll get on that, and I'll talk with our street department people tomorrow. Thanks for, that's really what this is about. It's not, it gives me a chance to goof off and have fun with viewers and taxpayers and neighbors and stuff, but it really supplies a lot of information that we otherwise don't get. So I love doing it, and I'm glad we get plenty of calls. So I'm almost to my bedtime though, Matt. So we got anything else?
Nope, that was it.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I like doing this, and I hope you enjoy watching and getting some information. And I'm going to be relentless. I'm not going to give up on something that we've worked so hard on. So we're going to, and that is the Freeze Center. And so we're going to try to supply you with as much information as possible, and try to answer questions in a kind of a non-social media way. I mean, a lot of times social media, it's like we'll shout down one, we'll shout down the other, and we'll have fun just yelling at each other. I want to use it for it, the social media at its best, when you can show information and ideas and have a halfways, or, when you're talking to me, it's only going to be halfways intelligent. You can have an intelligent conversation with people and move the marker towards a better community. So I'll stop yakking. See you in a couple of weeks. Come to council tomorrow if you don't got anything else to do. Good night.